We're on. So we're live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Kayfabe.
You can stay back here, Keith.
Oh,
That
right.
might fix this up.
So welcome to another episode of Kayfabe Keaton. And what a guest I have on here. Now I know we like to wind each other up on the podcast. You know, we get heated sometimes, but it's all just fun and games. I have to admit, it's an honour having 5-time world champion Crusher Crossen on my show.
Well, Keith, it's a pleasure to be here in person.
Yeah, Kayfabe Keaton in person.
And just to be in Belfast, Northern Ireland, it's just been great. And, this is fascinating being in a different country and seeing all the different landmarks and stuff here. You know, in addition to the wrestling, we'll get into that. But, I mean, it's just great for me to be here. I call it Europe, but it's Northern Ireland, right?
Yeah, well, it's in Europe as well.
Right, it's part of Europe. And like I said, it's been great. I've had nothing but people have been really friendly to me, and I felt very welcomed. And couldn't have asked for a better experience so far.
100%. And it's been a pleasure meeting you. Obviously, we've met each other on the podcast, but it's been a pleasure meeting you in person as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I love what you're doing for NIPW as well. Then Canary Kid and Ben Nelson have that opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And there it is. There it's not the NIPW, the NWF
World Championship. Yeah, this is my version of the belt that I had from when I won it. The one that Canary won last night is the version we made for you guys to have for the current version.
Yeah.
Everybody who's held this belt has one of these, pretty much.
Yeah.
So it's like we like to let everybody that's held it have one of them for themselves. Like Ace has one, Kelsey has one. This one's mine. So, and now, Canary's got the belt. He won the belt. He won the match last night, as everybody knows from social media. And we're going to talk about that. We'll get into the match. We're going to see first looks of this match. We're going to watch it as our watch along, and we're going to see exactly what happened. And now, Keaton, we'll just talk a little bit. I know you were concerned I couldn't be impartial in this match.
And what did we see?
What did we see?
We saw one. We saw two. We saw and then
was it that? It wasn't that
was.
bad. I think he's exaggerating a little bit.
You didn't want the Canary Kid to be the NWF champion, and through it all, you slow counted. You were being an impartial referee, as I predicted the whole time, and Canary Kid still won the NWF championship as predicted.
Well, I predicted that Canary Kid would fight fair and fight clean, and I knew he had it in him to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you noticed, he did that. Now, he did slip with the punch, but look, he could have been playing dirty in the whole match like he had been doing leading up to this. And if he would have went in with that, I don't know if he would have won the match.
You know what? Crusher Crossen's right this time.
Yeah, I mean, I think he had his head screwed on straight. And let's not forget about Ben Nelson. Ben Nelson put up a heck of a good fight.
100%, yeah.
He really made, he's come so far and he came so close. And now that I have watched the match back, and we'll watch it again, but there would be, now let's see, we got a comment, Keaton, can you see it?
Yeah, it is. That's some dedication, traveling all the way. Well done, Crusher, Keaton, all that you do. For all that you do.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Thanks very much.
The only thing is it's kind of hard to read them. I never thought of how small it would be.
That is pure dedication, you coming over here and all as well. So,
oh, yeah.
They're completely right. And what's been your favourite thing you've done over here in Northern Ireland?
Oh, so far?
Yeah.
Well, I think seeing that castle very first day, that was neat.
Carrick Castle.
And being able to go into the city council and meet,
Councillor Hatton.
And in the mayor's parlor we were in, and that was neat. That was a neat experience. And getting that plaque and being able to sign the ledger and then being able to get them a picture with the belt as well. That whole experience up there was really, really cool. I liked it. That was my favorite so far.
Did you ever think you'd be recognised for that? You probably thought that the NWF would just be one thing over in America, but globally it's been recognised. The councillors from Northern Ireland have actually given you awards for this.
Right.
Which is class.
Yeah, it was quite an honor. And, that's the significance. And like I was saying, when you get a world title status, it really just puts a different limelight. That's like for Ricky winning the belt. this is his second championship, but it's his first world title.
You're right. Yeah.
So let's see what happens. Now when he goes to the different areas that he goes to, he's going to be looked at differently. So, and everybody's going to be gunning for him, especially here in NIPW. I mean, I've already heard from some of these guys. They're saying they all seen this belt and they like the way it looks. And so now, remember, this is a teenage. We were teenagers back in the day, but we turned into an indie fed. This is an indie title.
Yeah.
So anybody's up for this belt.
Absolutely. And, I know we've talked a wee bit about you coming in Northern Ireland, but I want to focus a bit on your career and how you first got into wrestling. So I think I already know this, but a lot of the viewers might not.
Right,
so
I might not know.
How did you first get into wrestling?
So, like when we started out, we were kids. Like think of John McCann, and I'm going to relate it to Northern Ireland. Like John McCann and Ricky Henry, they were both 14 when they both started at different times, but not far off.
Yeah.
And that's how old I was. I was 14 when I wanted to do this. The only difference between me and them is they had Nathan Hoy. They had somebody who's willing to train them at a young age, and I didn't have that opportunity. So I'm very much envious of that because I think that that's such a big deal. Like to get that right training out of the gate, they've saved themselves years of trying to figure. Like we took a couple years to figure things out enough to get in front of people. They didn't have that issue. I mean, they sure had learned, but they were learning much more quickly and much better.
Yeah.
And I think that's huge.
Absolutely.
So when I started, we just didn't have that option. So I had to. But here's the thing: I started with just some bed mattresses, but we had in the cable show really. But I had this vision in my head, Keaton, that I want to be in front of I want to be in a big setting in front of people, multiple cameras, live crowd, professional ring. That's what I wanted in my head. That was in my head at 14.
Exactly.
And I never lost sight of that. And I said, this is where we're going to get to. And I don't care what we got to do to get there, but we're going to get to it. And I just did not take no for an answer. And I heard a lot of negatives along the way.
Yeah, of course you were going to. But you kept fighting through it. But also, one thing was that kids weren't really involved in wrestling at that time. The people wouldn't have let that happen. So that just shows how much of an inspiration you are to young kids wanting to get into wrestling.
Right, and that's how you found us originally on the internet. When I wrote my book and documentary, that's the whole reason I wrote my book and documentary and produced documentaries, because I wanted to tell our story. The book and documentary tells more of the story of us as kids. I don't get into too much of what I did with the indie side of things with Eddie Sharkey later on. That's another story, really. But or how we morphed into an indie fed. But I kept the book. It was a marketing thing. I wanted to market this for kids to understand how kids can get. They put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything. But you don't even have to be a kid. You can be a grown adult. This all applies. You just the bottom line is you set a goal, and it should be unattainable, and it should be far reaching. Like just think, we had bed mattresses, and I wanted to be in an armory full of fans.
Look what you done.
And that's exactly what we got to.
What an achievement.
So it's like, but here's what I'm trying to say is if I listened to all the people that doubted us, would have never got there.
Exactly.
So I learned early on, is what I'm trying to tell you, that first and foremost, you need to believe in yourself. Mm-hmm. You need to believe in your own, the fact that if you put your mind to it, you can accomplish something. And this doubting business, you got to clear your head of it. Anybody who doubts themselves, you got to stay focused. It's the only way it happens. And then, and dream big. Your goals should be big. Like I would say to the NIPW guys, your dream should be the WWE. That should be your goal. Because if you don't think big, you're not going to, if my goal would have been, I just want to get, in the studio. Well, then that's all the further I would have got. That was just one of the steps that we took.
You're right, yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Good point. Yeah. Before we get deeply into this,
we got some more questions.
Yeah, we've got into comments. I think I saw one from Johnny McElroy as well. I'm just going to try to get to that. But we got a comment from Seeing Spots saying, is the book and DVD still on the shelves?
Yeah, the book and DVD is still, it's on our website. So if you go to the NWFWrestling.org, we sell it there. I used to have it on Amazon. Amazon takes such a huge cut that I got tired of paying them. Like they take a third. So I just sell it directly on our website now.
Makes sense.
I used to have it on Amazon though quite a bit. And they're still on it. You can still watch the documentary on Prime Video. I think they charge $2.
Not much.
Yeah, it's pretty cheap.
Especially for such a documentary like that. I've watched before. It's quite good. Johnny McElroy says amazing venue, guys. Yeah, I forgot about that. We'll have to give a big shout out to. Um, yeah, we'll have to give a big shout out to this venue here.
Oh yeah,
This is
we're kind of panning the camera up now. You can see
Yeah.
we're in this big atrium.
so. I want to thank them for letting us use this 8 Royal Avenue. What? So 2 Royal Avenue. Sorry, yeah, my mistake. 2 Royal Avenue. And you see all the old Belfast stuff in the background. Holland and Wolf Cranes, where the Titanic was made.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff there. So thanks very much for letting us use that. And then we got a comment from Manny Mully, one of our regulars, who says, "What do you think of Belfast, Crusher?"
I love it. I love this town. You know what I like too is the people. Like everybody's friendly. That's one of the things I've noticed. You know, I mean everybody. So
Yeah.
it's like it's very friendly, environment. It's in that very very tight town. If you're ever in the United States, like your streets and stuff, they're very compact down here. Like it's very tight, the roads and everything and turns. This is why I didn't want to drive when I got here. But like when you get to where I live and stuff, and even throughout the United States, it's much more spread out. So like everything's just more open. You'd be surprised. But other than that's just the differences I've noticed. But I mean, you know what I also like is the food. I think the food's really good. It's just a different. I've had things here that I never seen in the United States.
Yeah, what kind of food?
Like it was like is it the oyster fry?
The seasoned onion.
Yeah, the whole like 2 different breads, the soda bread, the potato bread.
Yeah.
The
oyster fry.
Oyster fry, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that we don't have that on our menus,
that, no.
So that was pretty neat to see. And the different ways that you do things, like you have different condiments for different things that we wouldn't normally do. So it's interesting.
Yeah, so you've had a lot of different foods to try. So what's been your favorite food?
So far here, well, I gotta say that I had this burger up there in your dad's hometown,
Carrick
at the place, and that was a good burger. I'm a hamburger fan. If I can get a good burger somewhere, I always like a good burger. So.
Yeah. And then we've got a comment from Kevin Mays, who will be coming on our show soon from DNA. Can't wait to have him on. Who comments saying, "That's it, Crusher. You're never too old to try new things." And I don't know.
Can I see it?
Over a matter of time or something. It's it. I just got it here now. So it says, "That's it, Crusher. You're never too old to learn new things. Mind over matter every time."
Yeah, let's see. That's not bleeding through, is it?
Yeah, because you have got the phone too close.
Yeah, maybe we can do it like this so that way I can see it. So that's it, Crusher. You're never too old to learn new things. Mind over matter every time. Absolutely. It's like, I don't care what I talk about being 14 doing this, but it doesn't matter if you're 14, 24, 34, 44. Age doesn't matter here. It's just a matter of, doing it correctly.
Exactly.
And putting your mind to it and making it happen. And that's it. When you start making your goals, then you just build off. I'm like, hey, I got that accomplished. I got this accomplished. And then you go to the next part of it. And the next thing. It's like, when you set a goal big like that, though, don't expect to do it in one day.
Definitely.
There's an old saying, how do you eat an elephant? Right. One bite at a time.
Exactly.
And you got to take things one step at a time in all of this.
Not literally, obviously.
Yeah, and that's what I learned too. But don't lose sight of that goal. Don't lose sight of where you want to go. Whether that's, especially for all the indie wrestlers, if you want to make it, you got to set your goals high. You got to set your goals big. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you're only going to get as far as what your mind thinks you can get otherwise.
And we've got a comment from the 1 Minute Wrestler with Jesse Jackhammer, my pal from Canada. He says hello to me. Big shout out to him. Make sure, if you haven't already, make sure to follow his content. It's absolutely class.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so it's Darren Whiteside says it's so cool having Crusher here in Northern Ireland.
And that's Darren? Yeah. Well, and I remember how I said it one time, I want to eventually make a trip over here and meet all you guys, and I did. I didn't expect that I'd be on a show.
No?
I mean, I just wanted to see a show initially. I see the Lions Den show and everything, but it was such a thrill to actually be a part of it. And I can't thank Nathan Hoy enough, who runs NIPW, that allowed this to happen. Without his approval, we wouldn't even be here with this, doing everything we did with the title match and everything. So, and not all that, some indie feds maybe wouldn't want to do this because they have their own thing, they have their own operation, their own, but Nathan Nathan's. I like to think he's a lot like me. He looks outside the box, and he looks at things differently, and what he can do. And I'm really having spent time behind the scenes with him over there and stuff in their whole operation. I think it's just a really good. I couldn't think of a better place for somebody who wanted to get started in this to get started with
Absolutely.
with NIPW and their training program.
Because no places in Northern Ireland would accept young kids. Like,
Besides young kids, anybody, any age.
And NIPW's training is really paid off for me as well, as you've said before. And for Ricky, John, this was probably a far off dream, and it's turned into them wrestling over in Canada. John, a regular over in CTW, all thanks to Nathan. So the training here, it just shows the coaching that has happened. But also I want to talk to you a bit about. So you were talking about it. I know you're kind of telling the stories here, but I just want to say, so you. I was watching a documentary, and someone came up to you and says you can start your own TV show, right? So what was your first thoughts? What was the original idea?
Yeah, back in the days with cable TV, they come door to door and they'd pitch you on buying cable because people weren't used to that. We only had 3 broadcast channels, and the community wasn't necessarily sold on cable. So they would have salespeople come to try to sell you your house on it.
Yeah.
And I sat in because I was excited because the idea of getting all these channels and the music channels and all this stuff. As a teenager, I wanted to see this. And so in their presentation, they talk about community television and how the community can use this to make their own shows. And my light bulb went off when I heard that. I wanted to be on TV, first and foremost. I was a wrestling fan already, but just the idea of being on TV and having everybody watch it. Because we didn't have internet, computers, YouTube, social media, none of that. So this is our first kind of experience to have like some kind of a public forum where we can get our stuff out of anything you want to do. And you can produce any show. They said you can make any show you want, and you just got to learn how to do it. So we had to learn how to do the video production. They would teach us, and that's how I got started.
What was the original idea? Was it always you want to start your own wrestling company?
It wasn't wrestling right away. I was trying to do different things, sketch shows, comedy acts, different things. Nothing was working though. But then Charlie and I, we just brainstormed. At first this is before you could buy, before they had action figures and wrestling rings, toys. We had the He-Man guys, and we built our own little wrestling ring for them. And we would do, with the camera, we'd do stop motion. We'd make them move. And then we'd record a frame, and we'd end up looking like they had a match. And I think that's where the light bulb went off. I said, why are we doing this? We could be doing this. So exactly. Let's go take it to the next level here. Let's start something.
Really did.
We did. And we knew there was a ring in Fred Moore, the boxing ring. We all heard about it, and that's initially what we wanted to get right away. But they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't give it to us. So we had to start just with what we had, and that was my basement and mattresses. It was crude. It was. You talk about Ricky getting embarrassed and walking off when I tried to do that stuff. I would do the same thing if anybody ever seen this. I don't like. You can see a bit of it in the documentary, but man, I don't like watching that stuff.
If I'm right, was it the Twin Cities Wrestling Company at the start?
Yeah,
Twin Cities.
Yeah, well, no, the Quad Cities in the beginning. There's 4 cities: Anoka, Champlin, Ramsey, and Andover. So it was the Quad Cities. Then it went to the Twin Cities. Then it went to the national. Once we went nationwide, then we went national.
Oh, we've got a comment from. TZS videos. It said, "What's the standard of wrestling like in the NIPW compared to the NWF days?"
Oh, night and day. I mean, old school. That's really like what's it like from old school to today, and even NWF old school because we weren't polished as much as they were in the big leagues. But it's that's just it. Like wrestling's evolved so much, and I mean, just last night's show is a perfect example. Just look at all the high caliber moves they're doing. I mean, they're just at a high caliber. I would say NIPW is on a level of like NXT.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're at that kind of caliber, I mean, it's hard to hit the pinnacle of WWE, but I think they're very close with the quality of wrestling they got going on there. It's only going to get better too, the more as they train and get, practice and everything. And everybody's got a good head on their shoulders there too. And that helps. So you gotta be working together. So
yeah,
and I think there's a really good family type of.
And we've got a comment from Dormite here who says it must have brought lots of memories back. Yesterday, helping the guys set up the show.
Yeah, I got there early. I wanted to be a part of that, so I helped set up and got things going and behind the scenes, um, and then Nathan. When we were done setting, I keep wanting to like buy him like a lunch or a dinner. But he always insists to buy me, but he's so generous.
He really is.
But just giving me the opportunity to be a part of that setup and helping and everything, because that just kind of like that's how it was back in the day. It was all hands on. Like when you go up to a show in the indie business, you want to be there, you want to help set up, you want to be a part of it, because the more everybody does that, as the guy, if the guys get involved and help with that, the more smoother everything goes.
Yeah.
Because you know it's hard when you're running it. I know, like for Nathan, yes, sometimes it has to be a one-man army, and you need the army, you need the help. And so when the guys show up and we start getting everybody rolling, then things really start moving along.
Yeah, and with I agree. Like with what Nathan's done, the things that he's created is incredible, and it must be an honor for Nathan to have someone like you over with the NWF Championship, and that has so much history with it. But tell me, when did the idea, or how did it first start? The idea of having the championship for your promotion, the NWF Championship.
Well, we always had the belt. I mean, initially it was the Quad Cities champion, and then it turned into the TWA, the Twin Cities Wrestling Champion Association champion, and then. But when we turned into NWF, that's when we started calling it the national, the NWF champion. And then the belt itself was made by Steve Engstrom, who was Mr. X Pretty Boy Taylor,
We'll talk about him later.
character. He designed this belt and made it. Back in those days, you couldn't just get championship belts at the store, Target. They make those cheaper replicas, or you couldn't order these nice replicas. Nobody was doing anything like that. There was one guy that made belts that we didn't even know of, but I know now. It was Reggie Parks. He was the belt maker, but only the big leagues knew how to get a hold of him. Even Eddie Sharkey didn't know how to get a hold of him. So nobody knew how to, and even if you did, you'd probably pay a fortune to get one made back in those days. So we had to craft our own belts. So this is where Steve was really good. Now this belt is obviously nicer now because it's been properly replicated, but this is what it looked like though. This is basically what it was. And I mean, the designs might be a little different here and there depending on the year, because I morphed in a couple different years to get this look, because we had it changed. 85 had a different look, 86 had a different look, 87 as far as the main plate. Side plates, these coins were part of the 85 version. So I had to make a choice, like which one do I want to go with?
Yeah, for what it was, like this championship here, people expected to be like a kid's toy belt. Like that's what people would expect with a kids wrestling promotion. But look at the detail and look how good it is. I don't understand this. Like how could a kid who's 14 years old start up his own wrestling company make such a good belt like this?
Well, again, it was Steve's. I got to give Steve Engstrom credit because he made the belt look good. But I learned from him. See, that's just it. You learn. So when I seen how he did it, then I started to help make, and I made some, and I started doing something with them. So and I understood how he was doing it. So you had to be very innovative in the 80s to be able to make belts that kind of look like this. I would say very similar to this, honestly. It's like I said, this is much better looking now because it's properly replicated. But I'm telling you, the original wasn't far off. And if you see the pictures of the old originals and stuff, you can see it. That is
absolutely.
And people, that's one of the things they commented on right away when I did my documentary back in the day. They said, "How did you get belts to look so good back then?" Because I knew it was from the 80s, and that was the first thing they asked. Where'd you get these belts back then? Because nobody had belts like this back then.
Yeah, it looks really good.
Even Eddie Sharkey, when we went and did the dual event, and he's seen my belt, he's like, "How? Like, where did you get that?"
Yeah. And then we've got a comment coming in here from Unbroken 1010 who says, "Whoa, it's 6:30 in the morning on Sunday."
Yeah, I see. We're here in Belfast, so it's like over in the United States, we're a bit early, but I'm sure most people over there will be watching a replay. And Keaton, I think we should probably maybe start talking about that match, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to go to the watch along side?
We will, but before we get to the watch along, so this is going to be our what we call it, kind of our rough footage or raw footage from you guys that you recorded. I just want to say this, that when our next Forward show comes up in, about 2 weeks from now. It'll be right before Canary Kid takes his trip to Canada. It'll be his last show for a while because he's going to be in Canada.
Right.
But I don't know for sure 100%, but I can say 90%. I think John McCann will be filling in for Canary Kid for about 2 or 3 shows.
Yeah.
So you may see John McCann with me, and I don't know how Canary feels about that, but I think that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he'll give me an earful if he doesn't approve of it when we get to that show in 2 weeks. But the whole point of that show in 2 weeks, so we're going to the NIPW folks are going to get me the official match with the commentating and everything to be able to do a watch along on that show. But this one's going to not have the commentating, but we're at least going to see the match, see what everything that happened.
Well, now that we're talking about the match and stuff, you started up the NWF, had that championship, right? And tell me how long ago the NWF stopped, like what year?
Well, let's see. We started in 84 initially, like I said. And then by 86 is when we did our first live event, where I did the armories. And in 86, we started doing all the live events. And into 87 and into 88. And it was in, at some point in the end of 87 is when I sold the league itself to Ernie Ellis, who then took over the promoting side of it. And I just did the television side. So I produced all the cable show and had all my crew and everything. And he just did he had the ring and would set the ring up and do the promoting and the booking part of it.
Absolutely. And
that was a good relationship for a while. And then I finally decided to go. My dad wanted me to go to college, so I was going in a different direction for a while there.
So it stopped many years ago, and you have still been able to keep it alive. And it's a big credit to you and Dixie Dave. Dixie Dave came up with the idea of the NWF Rewind podcast.
He did.
So you've done the NWF Rewind, and then you've done NWF Forward, with something that you've always wanted to do, I'm guessing, like get younger kids on to give them advice to achieve their dreams with, and you posted with Canary Kid.
Yeah.
And with GBIRD and
the old GBIRD,
and you're still and you're still getting involved with wrestling, bringing the NWF Championship to new heights, as you always did. You bring NWF to new heights, stuff unimaginable things, a kid selling it in the Armory, and now you're going over to Northern Ireland and bringing the NWF Championship back, which I think is incredible. So it's a huge credit to you.
And thank you, Keith. And the idea, like I said, this was innovative for us back in the day. Like, you didn't see teenagers doing this stuff in the 80s. Nowhere. Believe me. Unless you were like the promoter's son, maybe you're getting trained early. But other than that, teenagers weren't involved. So for us to be able to do this at that age and get really pretty good for, at least I did with the old school era, I got pretty good as anybody at the time. When I finally got with Eddie Shark in the PWA and I was competing at that level. And so I thought, now look at guys over here in NIPW like Crooks and John McCann and Canary and Ben. These guys are all doing the same thing we were doing, but at the level it is today and at a high level, at a cutting edge level. I didn't, we're going to see this match coming up. I mean, maybe it's been done, but I've not seen too many people be able to pull off a drop kick when somebody's coming off the second rope. That's not easy, guys. No. I don't think you know how hard that is. The height you got to get because of the distance and how high up he is in the air.
There's not many people that can do that. I know
Marty Jones. We'll see that.
Marty Jones was quite good at doing the drop kick. He done a drop kick from the second rope.
Well, I mean, Canary did it with the guy coming off the second rope.
That's hard. That's really hard.
That's like you don't understand the angle and everything. There's just so many factors. Having done the drop kick so much, I know. And so we're going to talk about that. But, I always, this is the reality. I've said this with Johnny. I don't take credit for training the Canary Kid on the drop kick. I only take credit for him perfecting it. Because once I got it in his ear, he's really started working on it. And last night, he exceeded it. Yeah. And we're going to see that when we get to the watch along.
And now that you're talking about the drop kick, I've watched loads of your old matches with Slick Steenerson. As you know, I've watched the NWF before you even knew who I was. So I watched the NWF well before you even knew I was watching it. Yeah. And I've watched your matches with Slick Steenerson. I've watched Steve Ekstrom, aka Mr. X.
Mr. X.
I've watched all the matches, and I always thought to myself, how could this guy do such perfect drop kicks with so little training? So what do you think for maybe young people trying to do a drop kick or anyone wanting to perfect a drop kick? What do you think is the keys to perfecting a drop kick?
Well, the thing with the drop kick is that the reason people struggle at first is they're afraid of the fall. Because when you do a drop kick, you got to get up and you got to get vertical and you got to, or I should say horizontal, and you got to get your kick, but you got to land. And it's the landing part that everybody fears. It's in the back of their mind because they just don't know where they're going to be and how they're going to be positioned, and that affects the jump. So the way that I did it, I mean, I just started doing it, but it was, a little bit like I was maybe hitting in the stomach in the beginning, and I was just wasn't getting high. I had to keep working my way up. But then when I got with Eddie Sharkey, I learned that he always would do a step in. So like, and I was talking to Nathan about that. He's aware of this too. So you just kind of like step, you bring your one leg up, and then you bring the other leg to it, do your kick, and then that that way you don't have to get the leap, but you'll get comfortable doing it, and you're comfortable landing. And once you get that I don't want to knock the belt over. Once you get that landing down, and you realize what it's feeling like, then your confidence will go up in getting the jump. It's the drop kick is not something you learn overnight.
No, it's not easy either.
Mm-hmm.
I've done it as well. And you done it at such a young age was incredible.
This is a comment here, Keaton.
He said his videos. He says, Keaton, what is the most important thing you have learned from Crusher's visit? Crusher's visit. It's the most important thing I've learned. Not sure. I've learned a lot of things. Like, yeah.
I'll tell you the first thing he said. Man, it's so weird seeing you in person.
That's exactly what I said. I'm so used to meeting you online. With Kayfabe with Keaton. They're so weird seeing you in person.
Yeah, it's really neat to be able to see everybody in person like this. And I was surprised with it was great. Like John McCann see me right away when I was in town. He came over to the hotel that I was at. He's nearby, and I got to see John right away, and that was great. John and Ricky are kind of like, of the other guys, are the ones I talk to a lot, just because I talked to them from way back when I think John was our second guest and for NIPW.
Yeah.
And then Ben too, and so to see everybody in person though is great.
For me it was great, but when I first saw you, I just thought this is weird seeing you in person.
Yeah, because it was like, we're usually on the screen, doing it and 5,000 miles apart, so it's kind of cool to be in person. And like I said, I can tell too, Keaton, just looking at your pictures and seeing you in person, I can tell you've been doing the training, because you can see that the physical change that's transforming over you. You're starting to get more slimmed out from all that cardio you got to do.
Yeah. It's big credit to Nathan as well.
Mm-hmm. And that's one thing Nathan was telling me about yesterday. He pushes the guys. Like when they haven't got something right, he keeps them doing it and doing it and doing it until they get it right, instead of just saying, we'll get back to it later. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. That's a good way to be, really push the guys and try. I'm sure he does it to you guys too in the kids class.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
That's why, you've seen the future now of kids wrestling, and you're probably happy that you were the first ever kids wrestling company. Completely made it on your own, no parents. As Brian Jane said, where were the parents? There was none.
Right.
And you've now created a whole spectacle, or a whole thing. All thanks to you, because this would never have been created. So now we have the younger people in NIPW. We saw that match between Kid Chaos and Wee Show. So tell us a wee bit about what you thought of that. How did you feel proud?
I thought it was fantastic. Just when I see that kind of stuff, it brings me back to our days and our roots of starting out. Just letting the kids get in there and perform in front of fans. Look, that's what you guys want. That's the whole end game here. And if you never get the opportunity to do it, at least you got to get a taste of it. So I think what you need to do is you just set the goals and say, hey, when you're ready, because not every kid's going to be ready for that, but when you're ready and you proved yourself and we know that you can do it, then you'll be next. You need to have that goal in the kids' training. And I think Nathan's doing that.
Yeah.
So everybody's getting an opportunity at some point if they can stick with it and keep doing it. And that's how it should be. But yeah, to see him in front of, and I bet anything, they loved every minute of it.
Absolutely.
I know the feeling. So, I wasn't kidding when I told Ricky that I know what it's like to be him, because I do. And I know the feelings you have and stuff when you're at a younger age. And especially when people doubt you and think you can't get it done, So, but we probably should get started on our watch line.
Yeah, let me fill that now.
Yeah, we need to get the comment away, though.
So it says...
Oh, is that a new one? Never mind. Let's read it quick.
Were you nervous getting back into the ring last night, Crusher?
Was I nervous? No, I wasn't nervous. I was concerned. I was kind of wondering how I would get over. What are they going to think of me? They don't even, they don't really know me in NIPW other than the podcast.
Yeah.
So I just didn't know what kind of reception I would have. So I wasn't nervous about that. I was just more like, how's this going to go? But I couldn't have felt more welcome there when they started getting into it and everything. And I didn't see the video they played. My back was to all that, but I know that Mitch put something together, and I'm sure it was good for everybody. And I like the little build up he did to kind of tell the story, so they seen a little bit more of me before I came out. But I wasn't nervous though. I was just more. I was more.
Concerned?
I wasn't even concerned. Maybe I was more. I just wanted to make sure we gave them a good main event.
And you did,
The
100%.
whole thing. Like, just not me, but all of us. Me, Ricky, Ben, all of us, that we really did it. And I think, it sounded like it went over pretty well from what I can
Yeah,
gather.
well, something that people don't understand is that the referee is a very big part of the match. When you took the fall, you made it look very well. A lot of referees, when they're selling, just don't do it too well. But you took the fall, and you haven't done it in years. Obviously, haven't you? Not bumped.
Yeah.
What was it like taking that fall? First time in years. Was it hard?
No, because when you're in a match, and anybody will tell you this, like the guys, when you're in a match, your adrenaline's up enough. Even as a ref, your adrenaline's gone. You don't feel anything. So, like, the pain of taking the bump or anything like that, nah. And I feel fine today. I knew Canary caught me right in the mouth. I felt that, but it didn't bother me though. So it's like it didn't. We'll see this, guys, when we get to the watch. We're kind of jumping ahead.
Yeah. Do you want to get in now?
Yeah. So we just got to start the. You got to go to. Let's see. It's going to be A.
Is that it?
Yeah, A. Yep. This will bring us to our watch line screen. Start.
It is.
And we have the audio a little lower so you can hear us talking to. And yeah, this is the whole show. It's that's me coming out to the ring with the belt. This shook Keaton's hand.
Yeah, that was a pleasure. But you came out to your old theme song, the Eye of the Tiger.
Yeah. They asked me what music you want to use. I said, well, that was my original music.
I don't think there was anybody else that came out to the theme song of the Eye of the Tiger.
Hogan did originally. That's why I did it. But he didn't use it for long. It was just in the AWA.
He was your idol in wrestling, was he?
He was as a character. Not later on for wrestling idols, it was more Ric Flair. Ric Flair, not for the dirty play, but for he could do. He was such a good technical kind of grappler. Not real far technical, but technical enough.
Absolutely.
And just integral with his moves. And I was really inspired by that. And Jim Brenzel for the high flying stuff.
Yep. And here you're about to explain the rules here, so we'll mention as well.
Yeah, we're just going over this is what we call a traditional start. Oh, actually, no, they're still introducing. We haven't got to that yet. So this is Johnny. They're just introducing. I think Canary Kid's coming out first.
Yeah, cool entrance. So you first. The NWF first started with Charlie Lane. So what have you heard his opinion? You've asked, does he know about this?
Oh yeah. He's aware, and he thinks it's great. He loves the fact that this is getting. He's just as proud as I am of what we accomplished. Even though Charlie wasn't always a part of the heyday,
Absolutely.
he was a part of the building.
Started.
Yeah, he built the foundation with me, and if it wasn't for Charlie, it wouldn't have even happened.
You don't think so?
No, it was because he was the wrestling fan first, not me.
Yeah.
He's the one that got me to be a wrestling fan. And I never looked back on that.
That's a bit crazy. So what if he didn't ring you while Hulk Hogan was facing Nick Bockwinkel?
Yeah, if I would have. I don't know. Maybe I would have been a fan. Maybe not. But boy, when I seen that hooked me.
It's crazy to think that this whole podcast would have never happened. Kayfabe Keaton.
Right.
You would never have been a wrestling fan.
I would have never met you guys. None of this would have happened.
It's crazy.
It's funny how one phone call changed everything. I think I wrote that in my book.
Yeah, you did.
One phone call. How one phone call can change one thing in your life can change the direction and where you go with a whole line of things. And that's the thing. It says when you look back at history, just sometimes it's one decision you make changes everything. So it's Ricky's out there, Canary Kid's in the ring.
About to have Ben Nelson coming out now.
Ben's gonna come out.
The crowd went mad for Ben Nelson.
They did.
I think it was only the only ones cheering Canary was me and Canary's family.
Right. So you hear a lot of Canary cheering here because Keaton's right there by the camera. Mm-hmm. So it always sounds more prominent.
But really, it was more Ben, to be fair.
Yeah, it was more Ben. I could hear it in the ring. And then I think Ben's coming out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. This music's starting, it looks like. We can't hear it, guys, but I know that the audio's playing. So hopefully. But yeah, because we don't have speakers volumes, so I got it so low that I want to make sure they can hear us talk.
Must feel so bright here.
I guess if the commenters can tell us, is it loud enough? I'm hoping it
Yeah.
is. It should be.
Yeah, comment if it's loud enough.
As far as the audio, we just turn it down a little bit so you can hear us. Here comes Ben.
She wears Banger t-shirt.
Yeah, he was telling me about that backstage. Yeah, Ben was excited. He was fired up.
Yeah, you can tell. What an incredible match.
You know, we talk about Canary Kid a lot, but the guy who doesn't get talked about enough is Ben Nelson.
Absolutely.
He's just like his brother. He's very talented, and he is. I think he's going to be going places just like the rest of them. And you know, I can't say enough about it. And having to be able to, you know, that's the other thing. Being able to referee this, that was just a thrill for me to be able to be in there officiating this match.
Absolutely. Johnny McElroy says, "Why was Canary wearing his aunt's jacket?"
Now, what I'm doing here is I'm doing a pat down. I'm just checking them for foreign objects. This is customary in a championship match.
Yeah.
Now, what was the question, Keaton?
Why was Canary wearing his aunt's jacket?
That jacket?
Yeah, his aunt's jacket.
His aunt's jacket? Oh, man, don't say. If we start giving Canary, we already gave him trouble on the gold jacket, and he retired that. We don't want to retire this
Elvis
one.
Presley thing.
I thought it was a good look for him.
I thought it looked good as well, but Crusher Crossen had to know him.
Well, I didn't know. No, I'm not talking about. I'm talking about his new jacket.
Oh, right, okay.
Well, he did kind of look like Elvis Presley with his face. It was great to meet Ricky. It was great to meet Canary's mom last night too. I should say that too.
Here's you explain the rules.
Yeah, this is where I'm going over the rules.
We don't see that enough.
It's kind of hard to get it, but when they do the professional edit, you'll see this much better. I don't know if. I guess that comment's fine if it's still up. It's not in the way of the video.
Yeah. Take it away, like.
Nah, you don't have to, Vicky. It's not hurting nothing. It's not blocking anything. I ask them if they both understand. You know, once I get done with the rules.
See, I didn't think they were going to shake hands. Johnny McElroy wants the volume up.
Okay, let's see if I can get it up louder. I have to do it over here. I'll get it over here too. Actually, I'll do it on my phone.
We're just getting this sorted now.
Huh? Yeah, I just have to go to the screen.
Come on, Katie, come.
I don't know if that's too loud now, but
Yeah, sure you can tell us if it's too loud.
yeah, let us know if it's too loud, John.
Yeah.
So I can control it right here. It's very sensitive.
Yeah.
I think that should be good.
Yeah, it should be okay.
And I'm just going to keep this here because that way when we go to the next video, I can change the audio.
Okay, so
Johnny, let us know if that's good now.
speaking of Johnny McElroy, there he is.
Yeah. Now he's doing the formal introductions.
I like Johnny as an announcer. He's like one of the unsung heroes at NIPW.
Yeah.
Perfect,
Yeah,
he says.
perfect. Okay.
I don't want to. Have we let too much away? Have we said who won yet?
I don't know if we want to leave it. Well, I have already announced the winner.
Uh-oh.
So, I mean, on social media.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
So, well, in case somebody doesn't know, we'll just
Yeah,
leave it in
not
suspense. So now we getting ready to start this thing off. I was wondering if we're going to get a handshake clean after what happened last night.
I didn't think we would have, to be fair.
But they did. They
Things
did.
got very, very heated. You know what? When I was announcing the NWF Forward, you could tell after how shocked I was.
Yeah.
Yeah, didn't see that coming.
We definitely were shocked.
It was hard to even. I was like, I couldn't probably even get my words out. That's what I said on it.
They're just kind of reacting to the crowd here,
Yeah.
like.
Most of the crowd were cheering for Ben.
And this is where they get very technical with each other here.
This is a good kind of wrestling, kind of like British chain wrestling.
Yep. And as a referee, this is hard to follow. So I try not to get in the way, but at the same time, I'm looking to make sure they're not gotten an illegal hole and making sure they're not they're not doing any choke or cheating, because they can sometimes get around the neck, and you got to make sure it's not a choke.
Yeah. Well, what was the hardest part about being a referee?
The hardest part, I guess, is just making sure you're there in time for the pin, because the pins can come so quick, and you want to get down there right away.
I wouldn't that you wanted to be there for the pin.
Well, yeah. Well, you think it's slow. I'll tell you though that as we watch this British chain, if you're gonna have a fast count and a slow count, ref, I'd rather have a slow count than a fast count, because you can get robbed on a fast count. At least a slow count, if you do get the pin, you earned it.
Well, I saw for Ben it was 1-2, and then for Canary it was 1.
Well, let's watch this. We'll see how that goes.
And tell me what you think in the comments as well. Who's right?
This is coming from the number one fan of the Canary Kid, guys.
Absolutely.
So you got to remember he's going to be a little bit one-sided as he says.
Oh no, I'm
this.
not biased. I just state the truth. You're not hearing any double sounding from the phone now?
A bit, but as it, no, when it switches, I got to change the volume again. It's going to switch here. So I'm just waiting for it.
Okay.
We're on. Oh no, we're on B now.
Oh yeah, that's okay.
You got to go to B. Hang on. Oh, I'm on B.
Oh right.
Still playing, right?
Nice backslide. I thought that much would have been over at that point.
Yeah. I'm gonna make sure our volume is up. Nope, I gotta get water. There we go. That should be good now, Johnny. Sorry for the volume, guys. We can't test it, so that's the problem we got here. Now I think I got it good. There we go. So yeah, our volume should be back to normal. I gotta know when it's. Can you see when it switches to the next one? Let me know, then I can get the volume right away.
To be honest, watching this match, as you know, I'm a Canary fan for life, as you know that. But I have to admit, Ben Nelson gave Canary a good match. He's really improved in the ring. Really, very skillful wrestler.
He is. I mean, especially lately. Like I've noticed a big change in the last 3 months.
Like he does some very good sling blades as well.
Notice how Canary reassured me. He kicked at the bottom of his boot.
He was right.
He's not trying to tell me. He's just trying to make sure he knows that he's wanting me to know that he's fighting fair.
Yeah, and I want to talk to you about something about the shoot matches. So there was I know you don't really like talking about this, maybe not, but it's a very big topic in the NWF. It's something very unique. You had a certain period of time where title matches would be 100% real, and it'd be shoot title matches. So how did you come up with why did that happen?
Well, it was mainly because the kids were not thinking it was fair. We weren't deciding matches fairly. Oh, there's that drop kick, you guys.
Lovely drop kick.
Did you see the drop kick? That was the one I'm talking about. We'll get to the shoot matches after the match, because I don't want to miss anything like that.
True. Okay.
That was the drop kick that we were talking about. Very difficult to pull that off. I just know that from. You got to realize when Ben's coming off the second rope like that, Canary's got to get much higher. He's probably had to get about 6 feet to get him. So that takes a lot of. You have to have a good jump to do that.
Canary really is the best in this country, like in my opinion.
Now, you think that was a slow count? That was a normal count to me.
Well, that's not this. And then, but this is something else I noticed that you didn't really want to talk about. When the canary head was down on the floor, you were counting like that's 1, 2, 3. Normally kind of like 1.
Oh, and they were
2,
both on? I was counting both of
3.
them, actually. That
Well,
was like a double count.
because you couldn't wait for a canary to be down. This is what I've said the whole time. Impartial referee.
I think what it does is Keaton sees what he wants to see, hears what he wants to hear.
We've moved to the other screen, I think.
Oh, and see? All right, let me get that volume fixed.
Yeah. Catches him with a boot. Ben Nelson goes up the second rope.
There, we got the volume up louder. Should be better now. Yeah, I just have to keep adjusting that volume, but that volume should be good now. Oh, there it is. That's the drop kick. I thought, did we already see this?
I don't know.
It looks familiar to me.
Yeah, same. Canary Kids commenting. New GBI already.
Now that's the drop kick I was talking about. And then just to do that from that position, coming down off the second rope is pretty special. Oh, I don't want to knock the belt over.
What a good... This is such a good match. Like, this is probably one of the NIPW's best matches. I love commentating on all the Canaries matches. It makes it way easier for me to commentate on.
I hope this switched to the right one. It's like we're repeating, but it said it was on B, right?
Yeah. It said it was on B, now we're on C, so...
It's got to be the right one.
Yeah, it must be. Maybe just...
Unless I had maybe I had the wrong one in there.
See even Canary stating he's going to... That's how you do it. 1, 2, 3, and you're too slow counting.
I think I did the same pace, honestly. Now this is going to be the thing he's going to complain about with me.
Well, he has it right.
What are you doing?
There we see it again. And what did you think of the show overall? Did you see much of the matches?
Yeah, I did. I watched quite a few of them. I thought they were all good. I mean, I liked seeing Sage out there doing the handicap, especially how he started.
Crush got such a good pop as well.
I mean, just controlling that in the beginning like he was really cool to see.
And this is something you never see when someone does an arm drag. Canary Kid just overpowers him and rolls him over. Just kicks him. That's something you don't really see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
1, 2. That was a fine count. I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay,
Slow
I have to
count
admit, that's the
business.
only fine count. Yeah.
I just want to make sure this thing switches to D. I'm hoping we're going in the right order. I hope I don't have the wrong video in there and I have it like in there twice. It shouldn't be.
No, I don't remember some of this stuff now.
Okay.
Do you?
I don't either.
Yes.
There's the closed fist. Now that there, and I caught that. That's what I'm telling him. Say, hey,
Canary
closed fist.
Canary
Don't do
agreed there
that.
for a fight, and they put on such a spectacle of a fight. And then Ben Nelson had to get pushy shoving. That was not part of the game. He pushed him.
I
Canary Kid one punch in the
warned
face.
him. I just warned him. I didn't DQ him, and that's why it's a warning. Now he does it again. That could be a DQ, but he got the message. I mean,
I have to admit,
that's like one of Canary's moves, and Ben did it on him. That drop kick to the turnbuckle. Yeah.
Yeah. I think he sits down, then Canary runs over and then does. Yeah, that's a good move set. And what we're gonna see here? It's the springboard.
Let me know when it switches to D, Keaton, because I gotta adjust the volume again. We had to put this in 4
and he catches him right with
a
a super
good one.
kick. That was so perfect. The timing and that was so perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, we had to put this in 4 pieces, guys. That's why we're having to watch this, and I have to adjust the audio on the fly here on my phone. I thought I had it loud enough. This is the double count.
It's just watching on D.
We're on D now. Let me fix the volume.
Yeah.
Is it on D? It's still showing me on C.
It's good. It says auto switch. Watch alongside D.
No, we went back to.
Oh,
I'm just gonna go to D manually. There we are. Now we're
yeah,
on D.
it's easier.
Sorry guys, it's kind of jerky, but at least it's. I'll get the volume.
And then this is when you're knocked down.
Did we see that already?
No, I didn't see that, but you just got knocked down when you went on to D.
Oh, did it happen? Should I replay it?
Maybe.
All right, let me just start it again. There we go. Start it from the beginning. Oh, no, I'm already. Did we miss a scene?
I must have. This is
think so.
confusing.
This is how they came into me. This is how Darren sent them to me. I don't know. I thought. Didn't we see that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I wasn't watching. Did it?
I didn't
show
see
it?
you getting knocked down, no.
You didn't?
And 2. Oh, and your glasses nearly fall off.
This is why I wish we could have had one complete edit, because then I think something got mixed up. But I took them in the order that they were sent to me, so I don't understand. But I hope we didn't miss it. Did we miss it? Take a look.
And Canary's calling it to be over here. Oh, big DDT right into the second turnbuckle. This is when Canary takes flight.
What's that?
This is when Canary takes flight.
Just gonna check to see. No, I think that happened. We seen it when we watched that one scene. When he did the drop. We seen the ref bump in there.
Yeah, and that was a Meteora from the top rope, not a Meteor.
There's a meteor.
You just done that the Wayne Canary cut up.
Did it happen? Did we see the finish?
Yeah.
So I got the belt, and I just want to let them both know that they really, this is exactly what we wanted to see. Is this loud enough? I did turn the volume up, I think.
Yeah, maybe turn it a bit more so you can hear yourself.
Come on, just turn that more. I'm having trouble getting it up. I'm just gonna leave it, and I'll just keep taking it, go out.
Yeah.
Why is the match? Oh, I started it over. Jesus, this is why I didn't want to mess with it. This was hard, guys, because we tried to piece this together. I'm doing this one. There, I got it nice and loud now. Just the
What part of your
What are we on? I don't even know what scene we're on anymore. What does it say we're on? No, we're on D. This is the last one. So we'll just let this play through. It should be really loud now.
Oh, German suplex.
All right, and this is it. You might have seen this already, but we're gonna watch it again. And it's the meteor.
The Meteor.
2.
3. Neck crusher over here. Doing that mean to be tired?
Oh, I just got clotheslined. I mean, yeah, my head, my back of my neck. Yeah.
Comes.
People are saying, why didn't I disqualify him? Well, Canary didn't mean to clothesline me.
Exactly. And also, you got the 3 count, which matters most.
Like I said, I wished I would have remembered to raise his hand. But I shook his hand, that's better.
This is it.
This is exactly what I wanted to see. Coming 5,000 miles for this.
But you know what? But there was one winner. And Mary, I did challenge you not to break any rules. I did give you one warning, but
You go, Bruce.
you did do it.
You go, Bruce.
So from one end of your camp to now another, this one's you.
The best ever in the
Respect there for once.
It's Keaton I've always respected. It's you who don't think I respect it.
Well, what I've seen is just disrespect after disrespect. Ben Nelson this, Ben Nelson that.
You know what? I was glad to see this. This is the biggest win of the night right there, you guys. Friendship is still intact. That was my goal.
You can relate to that, can't you? You know, with me and Kelsey, that happens once in one of the street matches. Suppose we wouldn't get to that sooner.
So we'll get to the comments, guys. Once this ends, it'll come back to us. But yeah, the fact that they're able to shake hands, I don't know what they're all saying there. Like the camera didn't pick up. I watched it. I don't know exactly what Ricky was telling Ben there. He was telling him something.
Yeah. Just you know, yeah.
Oh, that's good. Not bad.
Okay, so we've got a comment coming in. Again, it says, did you know you were being broadcasted?
Hang on a second, because it's so loud right now, they're not hearing us. We gotta wait for this video to come to us. And we'll get to this match. So we'll do it here in a second. Watch Larry leave here. You excited?
Yeah, very much. Very well.
Yeah, we didn't get to the other comment yet, though, Darren. We still have to get to yours. We're just waiting for the video to end. Is all we're waiting for. We have Darren kind of controlling. Well, just listen to the crowd. The crowd's just really. That was great. We have the crowd in that there. Yeah, they were excited.
Absolutely, which is good.
Did it feel exciting out there?
I felt so exciting. I mean, seeing Canary get that 3 count, that was amazing. But also, seeing you come over and referee and that entrance must have been so cool for you.
Oh, it was just a dream for me to be able to do this again like that, even as a referee. What is Darren saying here?
Do you know you were being broadcasted live to Nikita in Tenerife on her birthday last night?
No.
So Ricky's sister Nikita, it was her
Yeah.
birthday last night, and while you were refereeing, her mummy was video calling her
Yeah.
from Tenerife.
Really? So she got. Does she usually come to his matches?
Yeah, she comes to all of them
Really?
because she was in a different country.
She couldn't see it. Yeah.
So they got her some way of seeing it.
It was great meeting his mom too.
Yeah.
You know, I know they obviously know that I do the show with him and stuff, but to be able to see, you know, who brought Ricky into this world is kind of cool. It's like when I know you see your dad.
The OG BIRD says, "What a show! Thanks to everyone involved."
Yeah, it was great. It was a great show, and you know, like I said, I'm glad that we got the match that I wanted to see off.
Yeah.
And I know it wasn't easy for Ricky. I mean, that's why, you know, the close fist, sometimes it gets the best of you. But, you know, and people are saying too, well, why didn't I disqualify? Remember I said one closed fist. I see even what resembles one. I wanted to put the fear out there. The fact of the matter is I have the ability to make an executive decision with the warning, and that's what I did. Now, if Ricky would have been playing dirty and doing all sorts of other things, maybe I would have disqualified him, but I felt he was doing the right thing.
Okay.
You're entitled to slip
Yes,
once in a while.
So Gizmo comments in Crusher was the real match. The website said 3 p.m.
What is he asking?
I don't know. She says the website said 3 p.m.
For this show?
Yeah.
I don't know what he's talking about, Gizmo, because this live stream is set for this time right now today. Wouldn't have been 3 p.m.
What time's it over in America?
Oh, he's thinking, okay, Gizmo. Yeah, when we do Forward, it'd normally be 3 p.m. But that's
right.
a different show. This is Keaton's show, so this is a.
Okay.
What we just watched, we had to piece it together, and we did the best we could. But hopefully you got most of the match in there. But that was just our Keaton's footage. But me and Ricky come on in 2 weeks. Mitch will have me the edited professional version with the commentating, and that's what we'll be watching in 2 weeks. And it'll be just we don't have a guest lineup. It's just going to be Canary Kid with the belt and talking about the whole experience.
Yeah, better than having a guest.
Yep.
And Crusher, you says, you kept reiterating to these guys, you can't lose your friendship. You can't let that anger get a hold of you, or else your friendship will never be repaired again, right?
Right.
And you've had that experience.
Mm-hmm.
This is why I just wanted to talk about the shoot title matches. You and Kid Kelsey. So
Oh yeah, the shoots. So you see, in a shoot match, when you're not deciding it and you're just really going out there to win, it's a whole different concept. It's almost like UFC fighting without punching. And, a lot of submissions, and the reason you go for submissions is because it's think of it this way. If I'm your size and we're wrestling, I'm going to really try to pin you,
Yeah.
and you're really going to try to get out of it, it's going to be hard to pin you. So you didn't pin people too much. It was just a waste of time. You only have a 10-minute time limit. So you're much easier to get somebody to submit. And submissions can come in many ways, pressure points, all sorts of things. We'd use anything, just anything to make them give up. So, and then you got to think counters. Like, what can I do to get out of it? The ropes, obviously grab the ropes.
I know someone who done that.
Anytime you can do that, that's not a bad tactic when it's real.
Who done that?
Ace was a master of
Yeah.
it, but he could stretch himself to get to them ropes, and he would. But then just knowing how to get out of moves and stuff. The thing is, though, it wasn't professional wrestling. So, and after a while, our friendships got affected. Like, I went into this match with Kelsey with the shoot, and I put this belt first. And I wasn't kidding when I was talking to these guys about that the night before. And I paid the price. Our friendship, we were best friends at the time, and it took a back seat for a long time. And I still never got fully repaired. Some of these, when you start doing things to your friendship, it can be like open wounds that just don't heal. And
thankfully, it kind of did for you nowadays.
What's that?
Did you think it's healed kind of nowadays?
I mean, we patch things up here and there, but I can tell you right now, Kelsey and I are never the same. He'll tell you the same thing. Why do you think he was telling Ricky he wants him to kick me in the face?
That's exactly because
That's not him. He's half joking when he says that.
He's half joking.
Yeah, I mean, part of him does want to see me get kicked in the face, I'm sure.
I
don't blame him. Look, I'm not proud of those shoot moments, guys. That's I know Gizmo and you guys love watching that competitive stuff, but sometimes those real emotions run deep, and it's not exactly a proud moment for me when I got the belt that time. So, but my point with Ricky and Ben is they saved their friendship. They did it right. Now, I don't know if it's going to happen. Canary Kid, if you think he's going to come on the show and we're going to be like all buddy and everything, don't think that. He still has his opinions, and I still have mine, and we're still going to see. Sometimes we're not going to see eye to eye, just like we don't see eye to eye every now and then. And now that I'm close, I can really make sure that you try to see eye to eye with me, right?
Definitely.
I wouldn't hurt Keaton. But no, I mean, it's not. I don't expect things to change too much. Other than that, there might be a little more respect for me, from him, and from him from me. Mm-hmm. Other than that, though, I'm sure he's going to open the show up with his favorite part with his introductions, and I don't think that'll change. I wouldn't expect it to.
No, definitely not.
So, do you have any more comments? I think we do. What's this one say? You got to go up there and read it if you have to.
Yeah, well,
unless you can see it.
No, I can see it, but yeah, we want to give a big thank you to May Wee for the use of the wonderful venue today at 2 Royal Avenue. It's such a beautiful area, obviously. So I want to give a big shout out to these guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, and make sure to come in if you ever have any spare time. Make sure to come in. It's a lovely place in here. So thanks very much for the venue use.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Of course, I was wondering if I could get your autograph.
Oh, you want me to do it right here?
Yeah.
Sure. Where do you want me to sign? Like anywhere in this book? I just got to find the alt page. Holy cow, you got a lot of them.
You're coming in here with some very famous wrestlers.
What's that?
You're coming in here with some very famous wrestlers, such as Carlito.
Yeah. Let me get this thing. All right. I'll sign it like I used to. You know, when I did my book, I always do Sean Crusher Crossen, but this is how I do it back in the day. It's Crusher Crossen.
So
Yeah.
this is an autograph here, guys. Can you see it? Yeah. Yeah.
And Johnny McElroy, what's his
Thanks very
comment
much.
say? I can't read it.
So it says, Crusher, it was a pleasure meeting you. Enjoy the rest of your travels. Keaton, your credit to NI Wrestling. Keep it up. Thanks very much.
Yeah, thanks, Johnny. It was great. It was great meeting you in person as well, and it was great. We did a couple. I did the interview with you there at the end, and that was great. I really, you know what I liked too when we were done with the show, all the interaction with the fans. I came walking around because they were doing a promo in the back, so I had to get out, and I came around the front at the end of the show, and all Ben's families there. I thought, oh my gosh, they're gonna hate me, but they didn't. They were actually shaking my hand and
Talk to you.
yeah, they were talking to me, and it was cool, you know. Because I thought, yes, I'm not going to be a fan favorite here.
No.
But yeah, they were cool with it. So
Sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
So I was just wondering. So now, what do you think's the future for the NWF?
Well, the future of the NWF is going to be up to NIPW right now. It's in their hands, and Canary Kid's got the belt. And like I said, Ricky, I know you're out there listening. You better be ready because I think you're going to have a lot of people coming after you in your own league, not let alone wherever else you go. People are going to, I don't know if I should tip them off, but I had a ride home from a certain wrestler last night that says he's got his eyes on this belt even. So, Canary, and I think I'll just leave that a mystery dark horse for him. But, yeah.
So this has been a great interview. There's a couple more questions I want to ask you before I want you to go. But do you mind if I ask you a bit about Steve Angstrom?
Sure.
Yeah. So one of the biggest topics in the NWF, if many of you don't know, is Steve Angstrom, a guy who you trusted a lot, who turns back on you a little bit. So tell us a little bit about Steve and what happened.
Well, Steve's that's a hard guy to talk about because, first of all, I had my best matches with him. He was the best bumper in our league as far as I'm concerned. People say I was, but I think he was. I learned how to bump from him. So he was a natural bumper. There's naturals at that he just can do it. Steve could. And I learned to sell from him just in watching him in my own matches and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So in the beginning, he was such an asset, and he wasn't a leader.
No.
He's 10 years older, maybe he took my orders, but he was a great worker bee. Like he would do any and everything I asked of him. So it was almost like a brother relationship that I had with him in the beginning. And he made like these belts. I mean, he was so crafty, and he was really good, like just technically with like getting the ring fixed, making it bigger. It was Steve who got our ring to go from 10 by 10 to eventually 15 by 15 in the garage. He kept making it bigger, with me too, but I mean, we together. But he got us, he was just good. He was good behind the scenes on stuff that he would help me with. And he could drive, I couldn't, so he was my transportation. And he was handy too when we needed an adult for something. Like at Fred Moore Junior High, we're supposed to have an adult supervisor from when we did Fred Moore. Steve was an adult, even though he was like a kid.
But you didn't know it.
Well, we knew by then, but like Steve acted like a 14-year-old, even though he was 26. That's the best way to put it. But he was so good. But then when he turned his back on me and tried to go with Larry and all those guys and do that, that's what it is. And he tried undertaking the league for me. So, there was a long time I thought I'd never talk to him again and stuff. And he eventually came back on our podcast and he apologized for all that and everything. But I don't know. I accept this apology, but the same, some stuff is hard to forget. And I know a lot of the guys on the show don't forget. He didn't just affect me; he affected a lot of kids, a lot of teens, and everybody. And that's a hard one to swallow. It's a hard pill to swallow sometimes. But I think Steve was. I think he meant well. He even said as much. He just kind of got influenced by Larry and the big guys, thinking that was the way to go, and they could turn this into. They were trying to take what we created and turn it into something for them and get rid of all of us. And that was where they made the mistake.
And didn't let that happen.
Well, not only didn't let it happen, I got our stuff back. I got our ring back and everything, but they did try to go do their own thing, and Larry found out he didn't know what the hell he was doing. That's the best way to put it.
And I, as you know, I've watched a lot of your stuff. I watched NWF Rewind before you knew, and I saw Larry, and I've watched the PWA when he was in PWA. That guy had the build, right? but I
Yeah,
could tell
big guy.
he didn't really know what he was doing, didn't he? Not. He
No,
had
he
the build.
just-
And,
very green.
And would you
He
say?
didn't know how to promote himself. He didn't. First thing he said when he came on the show is he's like, I want to do an exhibition match with like Mr. X. I said, no, Larry, we're not. You're an attraction. So we're not. The only way they're going to see you is to come to the show. They're gonna have to buy a ticket. That's how they're gonna see Luscious Larry.
It was kind of like, so you're kind of like Vincent, he was Andre. You know, you wanted to
Yeah.
build him.
Trying to treat him like an Andre the Giant for us. And we booked him as this outsider, like this professional wrestler on the outside coming in to kick the crap out of Pretty Boy Taylor, who shouldn't even be in our league because he's not a kid. We actually booked it like that.
Did you really?
That's we kind of
smart
angled
way.
it that way. And then, everybody wanted to see Steve get his tail kicked, as it should be.
Yeah, and you know, with the NWF, obviously a lot of adults came in. Like I've noticed this. I know Dr. Dredd, he was not at the time, wasn't he? Jeff Dinsmore.
Yeah, Jeff Dinsmore.
And he was always loyal. I know that he'd never done anything that Steve would have done.
No, not all the adults were like that. Like Larry, it was really Larry. I mean, Steve went along with it, but Steve's in that crowd too. But no, like Jeff Dinsmore and Ernie Ellis, these guys were good guys. They actually kept. And when I sold it to Ernie, I had a lot of agreements. I like, you got to keep it NWF. You got to keep the teams on. You know, it's going to be a proper merger.
Yeah.
And then they followed through with all that. Those guys did. It was Larry that was the culprit here.
But what the question, like the kind of question is, when the teens and the kids were doing all the wrestling, you know, when you bring in like Larry and Steve, did a lot of them say, no, I don't want to be a part of this. This isn't kids wrestling no more?
No, because they learned the first time that was not smart. If Larry just would have left it the way it was and let me keep running things the way it was, we would have. Who knows how big we would have been getting? We were on such a roll then. If I look at what I did from '86 to '87, the only thing that stopped me was when they tried taking the ring and all the money from the Armory, and I had to step away and take a break because that was a lot of work getting that ring back and losing all that money. That was just a huge blow to me emotionally and personally, and I just needed to get away from it. So I took like 3 or 4 months and I stepped away because that was just I did get the ring back. It was a principle. They tried to when they had to come back with the ring when I got the police involved. They wanted to write me a check and pay me off. I didn't care. They could have wrote that check for $100,000 and I said no. I want the ring back. It was a principle. But then when I got the ring back, I wasn't ready to just start up again and start doing it. It was such an emotional blow to me when they did that to me. I never thought I'd have my friends, who I thought were my friends, turn their back on me like that. And that's what they did. You know, Steve and Larry and all these guys, they just turned. That's what it felt like. He turned his back on me, and I just, for everything I did for him and giving him the opportunity to really be on the show. If it wasn't for me, he wouldn't have even been in wrestling. And he was good. He was good, but he wouldn't have been in it. You know, and that's why I like when Ace was on the other day with us, and he said, you know, Crush, you've done so much for so many people, not just the fans. That's what he's talking about. He's talking about the opportunity I gave all of them.
Exactly.
You know, so and I'm very proud of that, and I'm very appreciative of that. So I don't. It's all worth it when you look at it that way.
But yeah, and some of the stuff Steve done was obviously unforgivable. But now there's a question that I'm really wondering about here when you talk about Ernie Ellis. Does he with the NWF belt? Does he not? Does he own any of the rights to that? No.
No, he doesn't, because the league changed names. So it went from NWF, they merged with NCWA, then they merged with, I think, Midwest Pro. It kept merging and merging and merging. Maybe not Midwest Pro. And Ernie's now got it kind of self-branded his own thing. So now he's
still run it.
Yeah, I think he's still doing it. I mean, it might not be anymore. He was for a long time though. His son's in it now. I remember his kid was like a little guy running around back when I was wrestling, but now he's a wrestler and he has a Russian gimmick and a mask. And, yeah, so it's pretty cool to see, to know that he was one of the little guys that would always watch us, and now he's actually wrestling in the indie scene. So it's pretty cool.
And then the NWF went from. We've got a comment here from Sky Sports Video News. He says, Keaton and Crusher, the show highlighted both wrestlers' and strengths and weaknesses. Congratulations to Ricky, aka Canary Kid, for obtaining one of America's honor titles.
And I just want to say this: I am so proud of Ricky. You know, it took me a lot to get through to him, and you didn't help all the time.
Well, I didn't see it.
I'm just saying, but it took so much to get through to him as far as making him see the light. I knew if he went into this match with the right mindset, he was going to be difficult to beat, and that's what happened. Ben came so close, though, and I want to take nothing away from Ben. Ben came so close. As a matter of fact, if I didn't get knocked down, Ben might be the one having this belt. I can't blame that on anybody. That was just, these things happen. Ricky wasn't trying to clothesline me, but I was in the way. It's just, this is professional wrestling, guys. This is what happens. But it's just because we have any way. So, but Ben really, and here's the thing, I don't think we've seen the last of Ben Nelson, and I think Ben Nelson will be back at some point in time. Who knows when that'll be? But I think you'll see him again, and he'll get his chance again. So we'll see what happens when that time comes. That might not be right away, but it's definitely going to happen. I think.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion, though.
And there's been a lot of guys came and gone through the NWF. So and there's been so many. This is going to be a really, really hard question for you. Who's the Mount Rushmore of NWF wrestlers?
Well, the Mount Rushmore of NWF. Do I have to put myself on it or no?
Yeah, you can put yourself on it if you want. Because you need to be on it. Like.
All right. I guess I will. I mean, I can't argue that. You got the shirt.
Yeah.
No, but if the other three guys I would want on that, though, the names that come to mind right away: Slick Steenerson.
Your match with Tim is amazing.
Got to say Kid Kelsey, just because Kelsey, he might not have been the best bumper, but his charisma and his character is awesome.
He fought through a broken jaw.
That's so you think. And this is where it comes hard for the fourth one. I mean, part of me wants to say Ace, part of me wants to say Mr. X. I think Mr. X over Pretty Boy Taylor, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Mr. X character was much more involved with my title matches and everything. But I don't know. I almost got to go with Ace, just because Ace was so over in '85 for being a champion. Like he was he just had that. He was nothing like him. I mean, he just had such a good attitude. I mean, for his gimmick, he never cheated. Here's the thing, and Ricky, I know Canary Kid talks about this. He doesn't want to outright break rules. Well, Ace didn't. Ace was a heel that didn't cheat. Think about that.
It's crazy to think.
Yeah.
That's something.
Yeah.
You named some very good names. A fellow question. Got comment here from the current NWF World Champion.
Yes, we should point that out so that now that the match is over, Canary Kid is the official NWF World Champion for the first time in 40 years.
He makes a very valid point here. Where's my inclusion on this Mount Rushmore? After 40 years, he's I suppose you can call him the savior of the NWF belt.
Yeah, but you didn't address the question that way.
What do you mean?
You said of the NWF. Did you mean currently? Do you think Ricky should be on the NWF?
I just said of all time.
Let me say this about his match. The match that he just had. I would arguably say that was probably one of the best championship matches of all time in the league. The only one I would put close to that was that Broadway I did with Steve.
Yeah.
Because that was a hell of a match too, for different reasons. But not at the same, different eras. But of all my matches, I think that Broadway in front of 50 people. I mean, that was still you think about it, 50 people is not a horrible. That was about the crowd we had, give or take, last night. But just to have in the Armory, it seems a little bit more empty, but it was still it was a good match. But I honestly think that match, though, was probably, as far as wrestling skills and stuff, for sure the best we've ever had for the belt.
And tell me, with the Inoko Armory now, how did you get to Inoko Armory, and how did it all come around?
Well, it was very simple. We were walking, we all met up after school and they hang out. It was me, Kelsey, and Jason Crossen. We were kind of the brains behind the league at the time. I always had an inner circle and they were part of it. And we were walking downtown and we passed the Armory and there was a sign that said upcoming gun show or something. And I looked at it and I'm like, hey guys, what do you think about if we could rent this place and do a show? The light bulb just went off. And I remember Jason and no, we're not going to do that. And Matt's like, you're off your rockers. We're not going to be able to do that. I said, well, let's go find out. So we went inside and they're thinking I'm nuts. And I went and there's this old rickety drill sergeant, must have been in his 70s, some old guy. And I just went up to him and I said, is it possible to rent this place? And he goes, absolutely, you can rent it. I said, well, how does it work? And he explained it. He says, it takes X amount of dollars. You have to have 50% down. And I said, well, can we get a tour? And he did. And he gave us a tour and seen all the folding chairs and everything they have in there. I'm like, man, I'm looking around. I see this big floor. I just envisioned it. Like, we can do this. Now, we didn't have a ring suitable for the Army. We didn't have anything that was going to work. But I just, in my mind, I could see it. I'm like, all right. And then I realized it would be like $200 I'd need to put down. We didn't have a job. I didn't have any money. But I figured, this can work. So
You done it.
when I left, I'm like, we're doing it, guys. We're going to the Armory. We're doing it. And they're like, and I remember Jay's like, no. We got to get our wrestling better. We're not ready for this yet, Sean. We are not ready for that.
It turned out you were.
I said, we're going to be ready for that. So yeah, I gave us 3 months. We had to build a ring. We had to raise the money. We had to get sponsors. We had to sell advance tickets. It was just a lot of work.
Yeah.
But it worked.
I suppose it was good for a break from Old Man Johnson.
Well, yeah, and he got us in the end though, because when we were advertising the next event, he suspended us from cable. That's why we had 50 people at the second one.
He was a big problem, Old Man Johnson. Like,
Yeah, he was always interfering.
and I suppose you ended on a high as well. With when the NWF stopped with the Indoor Army, it kind of ended on a high. At the start, you dreamed big of wanting to make that championship, right? You decided that you at the start you wrestled on bed mattresses. You wanted to wrestle in front of paying customers. You wrestled in front of over 300 people, am I right?
Yeah.
In
Actually,
Armory.
450 on a sellout.
450.
Yeah.
And then now you're still carrying on this legacy with Canary Kid. And I know I like to say,
But no, it's more like Canary Kid's carrying on this legacy.
and
Right now, he's got the belt.
And
He's representing this
Yeah.
thing.
And I know I like to say, I know I give you stick and stuff saying that before you're my inspiration and that Canary is, right? But you are a true inspiration to loads of kids just trying to get into this, to show what you've done and your dreams in wrestling. So it's not just me. I bet you there's a lot of kids out there that want to be the next Crusher Crossen.
Thank you, Keaton. I appreciate that. You know, that's what I've seen. All the little kids that are in your training were coming up to me at the end of the show, wanting to shake my hand and say, "You're really from America?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm really from America." Yeah, they were coming up to me and shaking my hand and saying how much they appreciate it. And they like watching the show with me and Canary. I said, I asked them. I said, "This is for Ricky." I said, "You think I get on Canary too hard?" I was thinking maybe I'm being too hard with them. They said, "No, you're not getting hard enough." That's what they told me. I'm not being hard enough on them.
And then we've got a comment coming in here from Mitch Baxter. He says, it has been and continues to be an honour to have you here, Crusher. Excellent work last night, and thank you for crossing NIPW to the US in the way that you have.
Oh, thanks, Mitch. It was great to meet you guys. And boy, I tell you something, that's one of the hardest workers right there in the whole place. The stuff he goes through to set up all the technical side of your shows. Holy cow!
And he also says, I'm not vertically challenged or a midget, Keaton.
Well, I didn't call you that, Mitch.
No, I always.
No, I was
Mr.
told to
Midget.
call him that when I got here.
Were you?
Yeah,
I made a sign and all, Mitch the midget.
Yeah, something like
Yeah.
that.
Well, I know this is kind of coming to an end here because we booked this hall and stuff. But so, I want to thank you very much for coming on to the show. With the vacation and stuff that you're having over in Northern Ireland. We're finally meeting you in person, for sure.
Yeah,
But
been great.
you know the question I'm going to ask you. I'm sure you can guess. What advice would you give? Now, this matters so much. This is probably the question that really makes sense to you. What advice would you give to a young trainee wrestler trying to start out in wrestling?
What advice do I give to young trainee wrestlers starting out wrestling?
Yeah.
Well, it's like my best advice is if you really want to do this.
Yeah.
Because you gotta ask, like, do you have that? Is that driving urge that you just want to make this happen?
I really do, yeah.
Feel it in the bottom of your gut. So if that's the case, then you just set your goals, whatever that is going to be for you, whatever it is. If it's to be really good at all the technical stuff, the British chain that you like doing, you want to get really good at that. Make that a goal. Make it something that you want to be fluid with it, and then that's what you work towards. And you keep it in the back. You just have to keep working for the goal. Mm-hmm. If you don't have the goal, and when I say goal, it's like when you look at the goal, you envision it. That's where I'm going to be. That's what I'm going to be doing. That's not something I want to get to. It's something I'm going to get to. Not want to. I'm going to. You got to have that mindset.
Yeah.
And so I would just keep plugging away and keep working hard at it and keep doing it.
What have you done? Religious class.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, if you don't put your mind to it, it's just, or if you set your goals where they're, and I would make them far-reaching. Maybe you got to go more than that. Maybe it's more than British shame. Maybe you want to just be as good as you can be in that ring, period.
Yeah.
And that's going to be your goal.
Yeah.
That's what you want to do.
Well,
But just don't give up on it. Don't give up on yourself. It's the worst you can do is giving up on yourself. If you believe you can make it happen, look what I did. I mean, I was 14 and people thought I was crazy and right off the bat when I said, "Hey, we're going to be in an arena with cameras and everything," and that wasn't just to myself. I told everybody that, and they thought I was nuts. Like, what are you talking about? We got 4 mattresses. We're not going anywhere. I don't think we're going to do any of this. But I knew in the back of my head that we're going to get there. Just had to keep plugging away.
Yeah.
And that's how you got to think. You got to be positive.
Thank you so much for coming on, Crusher.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure having you on. And I'm not even just saying this. I've watched all the old NWF Rewind stuff, and I've thought to myself, maybe I could do this. So I've watched a lot of your old stuff, and it's great having you on.
Oh, it's been great. It's been real great being here. I really enjoyed it.
Thanks very much for coming on.
Absolutely.
And then we're going to talk about what we have coming on next.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll move to that screen.
The next future shows here.
For what's up next on Kayfabe with Keaton, we have coming up Archie Stubbs, who loves the old British wrestling, as we were just talking about there. He's actually went across and goes to different wrestling conventions, such as for Liver Wrestling, different places like this, and he's got loads of different wrestlers to see his stuff. He's had Grado reviewing his stuff. He's had Sonny Ono, I think, actually, and Heath Slater and people like that. So he's quite a big name. I'm going to be having him on next, and he's actually started up his own toy company where he makes figures that's never been done before.
Yeah, that's what you were saying.
Such as Big Daddy, Giant Haystacks, Kendo Nagasaki, figures like that.
Yeah.
So it'll be class to have him on, and
when is this?
it's next week.
So next Sunday.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Good.
And
Can't wait for that one.
And we have a rewind coming up. I just don't have the graphic for it. I was in such a hurry to get out here, but I know that Dave and I are doing rewind on Thursday, as usual. And I'm thinking the show we just did the Armory 86 Armory, so we're going to. I think it might be a Fred Moore show. I don't know. It's one of the shows. You'll be surprised. And then in 2 weeks, it's going to be Canary Kid's going to be the guest of honor with his new belt. So, and then we'll watch the professional edition of that match with the commentating and everything. We'll do that as a watch along. And like I said, I don't want people to think that it's going to be all nice and rosy with me and Canary, because I'm sure there's going to be some things. He may even, maybe he's going to comment on my slow counts like you've been doing. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, and just on this chat about about NWF Rewind, everyone, the topic's just been about NWF, so everyone can still watch NWF, watching NWF Rewind. You still do it with Dixie Dave for MWF Illumini, and you still made it go strong, thanks to yourself, obviously. So I've also got a comment coming in here from Wrestling Insider. What a great show, guys. Thanks for the entertainment. You both are awesome. Thanks very much.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys, for tuning in. I know this is real early for you guys over in the United States. So I see Gizmos was commenting and stuff, and it's got to be early for them. But yeah, it's a Sunday. Maybe they're
yeah. And once again, thanks very much for coming on, Crusher. And I want to give a big thank you to the 8th Avenue for letting us use this venue as well. So thanks for watching, everyone, and hopefully we'll see you for the Archie Stubbs interview. Thanks for watching.